All right, today I got a quick tip for anybody having issues with braking a transmission, braking differentials, braking axles on RC cars that have a center differential. And the summary is, if you have a center differential, just lock it. You can put JB Weld in there, you can weld it, because I have a welder, that's what I did. You can put your plugs in it, anything that will basically eliminate that center diff and make it act like it's just locked is the solution. But to go into why, basically if you think about it, the differentials in these cars are called open diffs. Basically it means that the power will go to the wheel with the least traction, so it will follow the path of least resistance. So if a wheel is off the ground, it's got no resistance on it, it's just in the air spinning, all the power will go to it. If you don't have a center diff, half the power will go to the rear, half will go to the front, always. If you do have a center diff, then now it allows all the power to go front or back. And when that becomes really dangerous is, seeing as all these front and rear diffs are also open, they will do the same thing. They'll let all the power go to the left or to the right. So now if you can let all the power go from to one side of the car, so say all of it goes to the front, and this will allow all the car to go to one wheel, say all the power goes to this left wheel. What happens is, like, say a situation like this one is a race rig, so it's got a lot of stuff done, and when I had bought it and used, the person had put a center diff in it, and I was having trouble where the transmission itself would be blowing up every so often. And what was happening was, while taking tight turns, sometimes this wheel would lift off the ground, and all the power of the engine would end up going to this wheel because the center diff's open, the front diff's open, all the power would go here. So when that wheel finally lands back on the ground, it's going to have all that spinning force from being off the ground going to it, and then boom, it's going to hit the ground, it's shock. It's going to send a shock load through the entire drivetrain. So, it'll go through the axles, the diff, and then the center diff, the transmission, whichever is the weakest link will take that shock load and break. And in my case, it's the transmission on this Revo 3.3. An easy way that everybody sees this is, you got a center diff, you do a wheelie, the front wheels will just blow up because all the power will get taken away from the rear wheels and go to the front wheels, and they'll just get huge. And when you land, same deal, boom. All that power that was in those front wheels is going to send a shock load. They can blow up your center diff, I think, or your front diff is, I think, what happens to a lot of cars these days. They'll have problems with the front diff, spider gears exploding. And that's why. The only advantage I can see is, in the situation where you're doing a wheelie, it will make you come out of a wheelie faster because, no power will be going to the rear wheels, so you'll stop moving forward. So you'll want to drop, but, honestly, that should be on you as your throttle control to get out of a wheelie if you don't want a wheelie. So that's the quick tip. There's no reason to have a center diff in an RC car, or I should say, pretty much there's never a reason to have an open differential in any car. You never really want that. It's just a cheap thing to do these days. If you're experienced with a real car, you want a locking diff. So center diff, get rid of it, lock it up. You don't want it, and that should help solve a lot of problems you have with braking different drivetrain components.